Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us on the special edition of the Kings of Asia. I'm Viren Farao. We'll take you through all the action from last night as India decimated Pakistan. India stepped onto the arena for round two and they put the squeeze on Pakistan. What a couple of games for the Indian team, beating them first in the group stage and then beating them in the Super 4 stage. And India virtually now assured a spot in the final of the Asia Cup. Let's say hello. Good morning to our guest, former India cricketer Rohan Gavaskar, joining us from Kolkata, and joining us from Bengaluru this morning is Saad bin Jung, former cricketer as well. Thanks, gents, for speaking to us. Let's begin with you, Rohan. That was about as clinical a performance as we have seen. I know the bowling may not have been completely on point like the other day, but you have to say that that was as comprehensive as one can get.
Yeah, twice in a row, Viren. We saw that in the first game against Pakistan as well. I thought that was a complete performance where the fast bowlers did a job, the spinners did a job, and then the openers and the middle order batsmen did a job. Yesterday, once again, you've got to say a really top-class performance from the boys. You just said the bowling may have been a little awry, but I disagree. I thought the bowlers did extremely well to restrict Pakistan to under 240. It was a good pitch to bat on. We saw that when we batted, both the openers getting 100. And the way we batted, we could have actually chased down about 290, 300 if we had to. So it goes to show that the bowlers also did a magnificent job. But again, everyone in the Indian team think tank right now would be sitting there very happy because you can't find the fault with the performance that they dished out yesterday.
No, you really can't find any fault whatsoever. Saad bin Jung, we build a lot to these India-Pakistan games, and of course they are the most talked about games in world cricket. But Pakistan has really struggled against India. These last couple of games, they just seem lost for ideas. They don't know what to do, whether it be against the Indian bowlers or, for that matter, when they're bowling against the Indian batsmen. It seems just a little lost about how actually to go about tackling this Indian team.
Listen, Viren, I think this particular Pakistan team, or actually the Pakistani teams for the past decade or so, have been quite poor and quite weak, actually. Has zero attitude. They don't even know what they're doing on the ground and off the ground. And I think the only one with attitude and sledging is still Mr. Imran Khan. So, I mean, that is the reality. And they haven't been able to move on. I don't think it's the fault of the boys. They just haven't been able to move on. The game demanded a lot of changes from the 1990s onwards. It needed evolution. India had the funds. India was throwing in the numbers. India managed to do that. And, whether it is from Gavaskar to Sachin to Kohli, we managed that changeover. We actually defined the changeover. But Pakistan got left behind. So I don't think it's the fault of the boys. They just aren't good enough. And I think the 1979 under-19 team that came to India, the Pakistani team, that would still beat this team any day. So this team is a very poor team. And that's the fundamental reality. It's just that they haven't got it together for the past few years. And this team is just a result of their failures.
Okay, let's go back now to Rohan. Rohan, we spoke about Shikhar Dhawan the other day as well, and for good reason. There's a lot of good talk about him because he's shown a real great uptick in form. These are conditions that Shikhar likes, he enjoys, and it seems he's bossing it there in Dubai.
Well, not just the conditions, it's the format. I mean, he prefers, I won't say he prefers, but he's a really good one-day player. His record in the one-day version of the game is far better than his record as a test batsman. And again, you mentioned the conditions. These conditions are really good to bat on. He prefers the subcontinental conditions. There's no doubting that. But again, you've got to give Shikhar credit for his mental strength. To come from the tour that he had in England, where people were scrutinizing his performances, and he was one bad innings away from the chop, to come to the Middle East and then pull out a performance like that, you've got to give credit to his mental strength.
You have to, and one man who's a big fan of Shikhar Dhawan is a certain Mr. Saad bin Jung. I know you were smacking your lips when he was playing in the IPL. I know we spoke a lot about Dhawan. There's a little something special about Dhawan and Rohit when they're in full flow. Scoring those boundaries, they just make it look so easy.
Yes, Viren, and I think what Rohan says about Shikhar is absolutely true. Now, let's go down to Rohit Sharma for a second. Look at the way he's changed his game. I think he's evolved. I think he's mutated, and I think he was preparing to go to England because he's tightened his game so much. I mean, that flick that he's playing off the hip, normally that would have been a pull. And that comes in because you've tightened your game, you've shortened your backlift. With the original backlift, he'd have gone over mid-wicket on the same shots. And I think he was prepared, and he was mentally and technically prepared to go to England, but he was dropped. And I don't have the RTI to come in and find out why he was dropped. No answers are being given by Team India, and they're representing Team India, and I still can't ask questions. So I think it's really ridiculous, and he's showing them up. He's showing up the selectors. He's technically the most qualified player we have. I think he's technically way above Virat Kohli also, Rohit Sharma. He's just a phenomenal batsman, and he was prepared and tightened to go to England, but he was dropped. As far as Shikhar is concerned, I mean, for heaven's sake, England was tough conditions, and his technique, the way it is always going to be difficult playing in England. So there was no point. They should never have dropped him if he was not doing well. They should have understood that is he has to play within his limitations. Maybe he didn't, and there's a series in it. But he's such a good player on every other surface, in every other condition. And like Rohan says, the one days are the easiest format to bat on. That there's no way that you can even think of dropping a class player like Shikhar. He's a brilliant player on every other surface apart from England.
Apart from England, that's the write-up. But that was not a performance that Pakistan will be proud of. Rohan, can we give them the benefit of the doubt? They've had a couple of opportunities now to have a go at the Indian team. Yes, they're young. Yes, they have 3 players only in that side who've played 50 matches or more. But is that an excuse for Pakistan? Because it's not like they lack the talent.
Well, it's not an excuse, but also that we've got to face facts and say that we are at the moment a far better team than Pakistan are. We've got experience, we've got quality, in bowling. If you look at our bowling attack in terms of the medium pacers, you've got Bhuvneshwar and Bumrah, who would be right up there with the very best, and then you've got Yuzvendra and Kuldeep, wrist spinners, who are aggressive, attacking, wicket-taking leg spinners. Who come and bowl in the middle overs. So look, we've got a really quality attack. And our batting, I mean, let's not forget, this is a tournament that we're playing without Kohli, who for me is one of the greatest ODI batsmen ever. So look, we are a quality side in the one-day version of the game. So I mean, yes, we've been beating Pakistan comprehensively, but Pakistan have inexperience, but there's no shame to losing to us at the moment.
I doubt they think about things that way. I mean, I completely take your point, Rohan, because, this is a rivalry that, is written about, Saad, it's spoken about so much. And, the Pakistani players of yesteryear, of course, will get onto television and talk about, how they used to play and what a run for India's money India is to get in those matches. That also weighs a little bit, doesn't it, on these players, because some of them have never actually even played India before.
Well, it does.
I think that weighed on their heads when Imran Khan was playing, or when the team had attitude.
Saad, yeah.
No, sorry, Rohan, go ahead.
Sorry, Saad, go ahead.
All right, sorry.
Well, no, okay. So
I think.
Okay, gents, I'm just going to let Saad step in first, and we go to Rohan. I think we're going to be talking over each other for most of this show. Otherwise, go ahead, Saad.
All right. No, I think, Viren, that sort of attitude comes with the quality of the side that Imran Khan and those players had, and the Wasim Akrams that delivered. So I think they had all that backing them, and then of course they had the whole fervour of playing for Pakistan. I don't think these teams can, or the team that is there today, playing today or for the past decade or so for Pakistan, they've had absolutely no attitude at all, because they're just not good enough. And their dependence on speed now, they solely depend on speed, but speed is now going against them. It's becoming a liability because the batsmen of today are using it against them. So they don't have the variation, they don't have, whilst our bowlers have evolved, and Rohan is absolutely right. I mean, our fast bowlers over the past decade and a half or 2 decades have evolved because they've understood the need to evolve. The Pakistanis haven't been able to do that. So I don't think there's an attitude, I don't think the pressure that they were under earlier, I don't think they're under such severe pressure anymore, because I don't think the Pakistani is expecting them to win. So there's a huge difference there, Viren.
Certain gulf in experience, gulf in perhaps even ability at this level that is being shown up. But Rohan, we've got one more game to go. Virtually secured a place in the final. How are things looking after that series against England, which was pretty close? Of course, conditions very different. But does this tell you anything more about the Indian team than we did say after the England series?
Not really, no, Viren, because coming into this tournament, we were always going to be the favourites. Looking at all the other teams, we were always going to be the favourites. So it doesn't. We've lived up to our billing. We are playing to our potential in this format. So it doesn't really tell us anything more. It just tells us that we are a really, really top one-day unit at the moment. The good thing is, we know it's really hot out there. The good thing is, these guys can now get a bit of a break, a bit of the bowlers, the fast bowlers can maybe sit out. Someone like young Khalil Ahmed can come in. If you want to give Shikhar Dhawan a break and try out KL Rahul, we've got the luxury to do so. So I expect to see a few changes in the next game before the final.
So certainly we do hope that there might be some changes, give a couple of players some rest. But Saad, let's talk about the positives here from this short Asia Cup stint so far for the Indian team. No Virat Kohli, perhaps not as high quality opposition as England, perhaps, but there's a lot that India can be very hopeful about. Once again, it shows up not just the bowling as we've seen repeatedly, but also the fact that we've got a batsman who can do it in these conditions and who can go on in this format and actually score a lot of runs for India.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, this squad would have beaten the English side in Dubai, or they can beat them on any other condition, but in England, I mean, that is the fact, because we are we're one of the best sides there is in the world. And there's a reason why we've arrived here, Viren. It's because over the past decade and a half or 2 decades, we've been working at doing all the right things. We haven't been frightened of experimenting. We haven't been frightened of the changing game. We've accepted that the fact that the game is going to change and we need to move on with it. And whether it's the BCCI, whether it's the state associations, whether it's the coaches and the players themselves, they've just not been frightened of experimenting. And the one-day international is an excellent a platform to go there and experiment, because you don't really have an attacking field. So you can get away with the nicks. With the huge amount of talent and the numbers that we're throwing up, I think we will dominate one-day international for the next decade or so, because fundamentally, whether it's batting, bowling or fielding, we are way up there, and we are certainly far ahead of all the other teams that's playing this tournament. And the only way we can actually lose in this tournament is because of the vagaries of the game, because the game it's a glorious game of uncertainties and all that. That's the only reason that we will lose. We certainly won't lose on ability. So I think we've arrived. I think we are there, and hats off to all the administrators and the coaches who've really worked hard at getting Team India over here.
Okay, let's talk about the other game of the night now, because it was another very, very close affair between Afghanistan and Bangladesh. But Afghanistan's fairy tale run, it seems, at the Asia Cup seems to have virtually ended. They lost to Bangladesh by 3 runs in the narrowest of games that you would think of. It was 7 to get at the last over. Rohan, Afghanistan has been the real fairy tale story of the last few years in world cricket. But they've put on quite a show at this Asia Cup, even more so than we've seen in recent times.
Oh, absolutely. I think Afghanistan is a team whose success in international cricket has been rapid and has been quick. I mean, for a team that made its debut not so long ago, they're very, very capable of pulling off an upset, and they nearly did so against Bangladesh. In fact, I'm going to go as much as say that when they played Bangladesh in this tournament, because
right.
Bangladesh in this tournament seemed to have been a little off color. When they played against Afghanistan, Afghanistan yesterday, it's not easy to say that Bangladesh were the clear favourites. I thought it was a game which was 50-50 at the start, and so it played out. Mustafizul bowled an excellent last over. Anything could have happened. Unfortunately for Afghanistan, unfortunately for Bangladesh, that Bangladesh ended up winning the game.
Well, certainly. Unfortunate, but, Saad, this is, as I said, one of the real fairy tale stories. This is the true story of battling adversity back home, going through all the hell that the people of Afghanistan are going through, and to come out of that, to be able to produce a team that actually battles, for glory at the world stage. They've beaten the West Indies, beaten Bangladesh, run India close at times. They've also run Pakistan close. They've shown that they have immense talent, and had things not been as bad back home, who knows what Afghanistan could have achieved.
Yes, and it's amazing that and like you rightfully put it, that with all the adversities to actually come up and hold your head high and hold your own in international cricket. It's not easy, and especially coming from a country which doesn't even know the basics of the game. I think that there's something really, really amazing about Afghanistan is that as far as the bowlers are concerned, it's the amount of things, it's the new things that they're bringing to cricket. It's the new ways of bowling. It's the new technique they're bringing into the system, because they're coming in from such unorthodox positions and they haven't really been taught the orthodoxy of the game, that they're coming in doing all kinds of things, and it's baffling us. And you and I were covering I think it was it was a year ago that we were covering a couple of games, and we realized that Mujib was doing things which even the commentators were not able to pick, whether it's an off break or a googly or a leg break. So I think the bowlers have certainly evolved. They've come to a position where they can win you the game, but it's their batting which is lacking, and it always happens that batting and fielding always takes its own time in order to get to a certain position. And Afghanistan, I think, is finding that they need to go and pick up a good coach as far as batting is concerned, and then they also need to throw in a few more numbers if they need to win with consistency. But as far as I'm concerned, I think they were a better side. They looked better. They looked more positive. They looked with attitude, as when they were playing against Bangladesh. So they gave Pakistan a run for their money too. So I think they've arrived on the scene. They just need a little chinks to be corrected in their armour, and they'll be there. But it'll take a couple of years, but they'll certainly be there.
Well, certainly that story puts a smile on everyone's face. Thanks, Rohan, Gavaskar and Saad bin Jung for joining us on this very special broadcast here on Mirror Now.